Guys, it's the Working Fans Podcast with a man called Dave, and we got Outkast Wrestling Revolution, coming to Griswold, Connecticut, June 20th. It's going to be a fun event. They're also going to have some inflatables, food truck, possibly a bubble party I'm seeing here, but they're going to have wrestling too, which is why I'm excited. And today's guest, Mr. Lou Jacobs, he runs Outkast Wrestling Revolution. First off, thank you for doing the show, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's myself and my fiance, Cindy Hart.
What are some of the challenges of running Outkast Wrestling Revolution?
Right now, it's been trying to get everybody in that we can. We've had a flood of people just trying to get on our shows and, trying to fit the stories that we have going, plus trying to get new people in. It's hard. It's very hard to try to get everybody in. And, sometimes you just can't.
Yeah. Hectic, I'd imagine. And just constantly like a dog at a fire hydrant just trying to get a drink of water.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're booked out. We have our cards already set till next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What got you into pro wrestling, like in terms of fandom?
I was a fan growing up. I used to watch the old WWF. I was a Navy brat, so I lived in different countries. So I would get whatever I could off of whatever they were showing on TV and stuff. So I'd get some old WWF stuff. I think I'd get some Japan stuff here and there. And then in 2001, I started my wrestling journey when I started training Southern California.
Interesting. So Southern California, where what promotion or what school did you break into?
So the school I started with was California Championship Wrestling. I trained there, and it was a guy named Charles Gibbs that owned the company. Started training with him, and then trained with a guy named B-Boy, CZW Hall of Famer. He was on Lucha Underground. And then when that company went under, I went up to Anaheim in LA, and I was in a company called Revolution Pro, and that's who I was training with there. And that's where you had like Super Dragon, Scorpio Sky, guys like that.
That's some great people to be around, to be learning from, obviously, working with those guys and just being around those guys. I mean, had to be a real,
and the owner of that company was Ron Rivera, and he had a lot of networking. He was in WCW for a little bit, and through him, and I can't thank him enough for what I got, because through him I was able to sit under the learning tree of Conan, Rey Mysterio Senior, guys like that I was able to really learn from and pick their brain.
Did you get to, just getting to be out in that Southern California scene and stuff like that, did you get to work like with some of the luchadors and some of that style?
Oh, yeah. I worked with Mexico's Most Wanted. I worked in a company called FMLL. I actually wrestled in Mexico a few times.
I was going to ask, because we were talking about this off air, like I'm going to ask you later about some of the stuff with Money in the Bank and everything, but just having that experience in wrestling, obviously you grew up on WWF like I did and stuff back in the day when we didn't talk about a lot of wrestling promotions, right? It was always this WWF and what they did. But now to see them working with a company like AAA and have an event, come in this Saturday, Worlds Collide, and seeing like that's got to be wild, right? Do you find, I find as a fan exciting to see that happening?
Oh, it's amazing. I think it's great, and it's going to give a lot of opportunity, and it's going to get a lot of eyes on some people that not a lot of people have noticed before or been able to see, and they get to see that lucha libre element.
Definitely, it's exciting. It's a different world, and I think we were watching NXT the other night. It's like the TNA title's being defended by an NXT guy, but on NXT in the main event, and we have promo packages for AAA, and Evolve is on, and it's just like this is a different time, and it's exciting.
Yeah, you would never have seen that 10 years ago.
There's the golden era, we talk about like with Hogan, Andre, and then there's the Attitude Era. But I feel like obviously there's Ruthless Aggression, but I feel like this is almost another golden era in terms of like all these companies just working with each other more now.
Oh, yeah. I love it because it gives a lot of people, now you have more opportunity, especially guys like us who, we're working our butts off. And I always, when I talk to, the layman's term or the like regular people who only know WWE or things like that, when I talk to them about indie wrestling, I usually tell them it's like AAA baseball. We're the AAA team. And a lot of us, we're working hard to try to get to the major. And so that's where we're at. And that's what independent wrestling kind of is.
Look at that too. Like some of the guys I've seen you had on your show. I know you've had like Richard Holiday on your show, and it's like playing that 6 degrees separation. People don't know, like, this is a guy that was in a faction with MJF and MLW, and MJF, obviously one of the top stars in AEW. He's got a movie coming up with Adam Sandler. I think Billy Madison. It's like you have people out here who are like, probably going to go on to do big things, but have already been associated. Like, these are stars you want to catch now while you can.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, we got Richard Holiday coming June 14th. Mickey Midas is another one. He's been on AEW TV. Kylon King, which is a guy that I helped train. He's also been on AEW TV. You know, there's so many independent guys out there that are on the rise and that are coming up, and this is the time to see them, and you're going to be up close and personal on an indie show.
I want to ask you that, 'cause you talked about helping train Kylon King. What is that like, right? From the aspect, like you got trained now, but you helping train people and then seeing them succeed. That's got to be a cool feeling, I'd imagine.
Oh, it's amazing. Him, Dustin Waller, Haven. You know, I'm so proud of those guys and what they're able to accomplish and what they're doing right now. They're originally Paul Roma trained, but I'm so proud to be able to have a hand in helping with that.
We talked about some of the challenges in the beginning of running Outkast Wrestling Promotion, Outkast Wrestling Revolution. What have been some of the highlights?
Man, our first show that which was our last show, because, you know, when you first start, you've got to know you're going to take some losses. So our first show, I think we had 50 people. And, you know, it gets a little discouraging. And then our second show, we had a little bit more, but not much. And then this last show, we had 250 people. And I mean, just seeing that line was like, wow, it was amazing.
Would you say a lot of that stuff, obviously it helps like with all these talents and stuff like that, but I think seeing the success of wrestling in general, that's got to help you guys too, right? Like now people are like, oh, there's other wrestling and it's local. Let's go see it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's out there more than it used to be, you know, so people are aware of what it is. And, you know, we like to offer a little bit more than just professional wrestling, too, because we want to get all kinds of fans. So, like, we had Tiffany Avatar. She was doing wands with the kids. So she had a little station and she created little wands and stuff with the kids. And that was a lot of fun and cool, you know, for her to do that with us. And it brings a little bit of an element. And we're really kid friendly. We're really family friendly. We try to give back to the community as much as we can. So, you know, that's a lot of things that we're trying to do. We're trying to bring in different elements of it and show, hey, professional wrestling is not just blood and gore. It's also a lot of fun, you know, if you come and watch.
Outkast Wrestling Revolution. We're coming to Griswold, Connecticut. That's our neck of the woods, June 20th. But you have some other shows coming up. Before I have you promote all that, what can people expect in general from an Outkast Revolution show? Like you said, you're going to have other stuff there. What might people expect at Griswold?
Oh, you're going to see a little bit of everything. Griswold, we have, 5150 is going to be there. He's insane. If you see him, absolutely nut job. He has absolutely chloroformed and dragged people out in a body bag. So he's our frightening element, and he's brand new. You know, I've helped train him, or I've trained him. He's one of my first students actually to get out there and you know, do the craft. And man, he's coming along so nicely, and I'm so proud of what he's doing. But he's scary. And, you know, if he keeps it up, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to punish him in some way, whether it be suspension or whatnot, because I'm a little tired of what he's doing out there.
Yeah, testing you. I get it. Let's reel him in, but hey, let's hopefully everybody will have fun. Griswold, June 20th. And you have some other shows coming up too as well.
June 14th, we have Flowers Given. That's the one with Richard Holiday. The main on that's going to be Richard Holiday versus Mickey Midas. That is going to be phenomenal. We have, again, Kylon King in that one as well, with Danny O'Ryan, who's another guy that's been on AEW. So yeah, I mean, we've got, you know, some stars coming in, and then shortly after that we got July 12th, and that one we have C-Rex, who is an NWA champion, and she's going to be defending her belt on that show. And we got Soul Taker coming in. Yeah,
I'm quite a variety of talent you guys are pulling in. That's great stuff. I mean, just having somebody associated to being a champion with the NWA, that's great prestige as well, having on your show.
Oh yeah, we're super, super happy and proud of that. You know, we're hoping we can do NWA proud and put on something that they're, you know, happy to have their champion come in.
We talked about this off of the show. I did mention to my producer I would ask you this. So you obviously are still a fan, and we were talking about Money in the Bank, and I was just curious to get maybe not predictions, but who would you like to see win some of the Money in the Bank matches this weekend?
So I am a big Penta fan.
Yes.
Penta came in. I've been so happy and proud that, you know, he's in there. I've seen what he can do. I know what he can do. I'm a huge fan, and I love that they're giving him the ball and letting him run.
Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, you know, playing fantasy booker, like the fact that they got Gable wrestling for that AAA Mega Championship, and then they have him in with El Grande Americano as part of the Money in the Bank. It's funny you said Penta, because when Penta came in, he had that debut match with Gable. And I said, man, I don't know if we're going to get that lucky, but in Ultimate Universe, I'd almost like to see Gable win it and get the title, but then Penta would be the guy, they feud with. And to see Penta wrestling for the WWE Championship in that stage would just be, I'd love to see something like that.
I got to say, I am super impressed with Chad Gable to be able, because, he has a different style. But to go with the Lucha guys and be able to keep up and do the stuff that he's doing in there, oh my gosh, it's super impressive.
Yeah. He's an animal. And you know what? Outkast Revolution is an animal. And you guys got some big shows coming up. And Lou, I want to thank you for doing the show with us today.
Oh, thank you so much.